but something like that. At the time that you are in purgatory is related to the goodness of life.
I mean, this is how the Quran alludes to this Jewish belief when they believe even if we were to go to hellfire or something, it will be only a number of days. Only a little number of days.
Yes, I remember that.
This is
from the,
this is what the Jewish people believe.
I don't study this.
But if you think from a justice perspective,
Justice is different.
justice is universal. From a universal justice point of view, someone who has done so much evil by disobeying God, for example, and going against Him, just going there for one day punishment in hellfire, whatever that is, it's not a just retribution. For example, in a human
How do you
life,
compare you to Stalin?
to give you an example, in a human life, someone who steals a lollipop and someone who commits murder, you can't just say, you know what, fine for both of them is 10 quid, 10 pound fine.
I agree.
It's not
I agree.
What was your name again?
appropriate.
Henry, nice to meet you. My name is Naveed.
I'm Mansur. Nice meeting you, Henry. Yeah. So you seem to agree with a lot of what we discussed, which is the principles of Islam.
Islam is rooted in Judaism.
Rather, Islam is, if you think about it, Islam is rooted in truth. If you think about it that way,
a lot of truth.
Judaism was rooted in truth. But if they do not continue to follow the truth and follow the messenger that comes to them, then they will be in a
I'm not an expert.
Do you know what he means by that? Because in our perspective, in Islamic perspective, when God commanded a people in the beginning, let's say those who call themselves Jewish today, they listened. But at some point, we believe they stopped listening to the next message as would be, the update as would be. Okay. So yeah, that's what we believe. So that, I mean, like you said, otherwise, questioning what you stated in the beginning, as part of the faith, how are me or Brother Mansur supposed to save each other? How are we supposed to save? Or how if we asked you, how do we save ourselves, Henry?
I think the traditional answer of Judaism is we don't look to the world to come. We look to what is going on now.
So basically,
we don't.
They're not using appropriate prioritization of what is
Jeremiah
important.
said, "Let not the wise man glory in his wisdom. Let not the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches. But let him who glories glory in this, that I am the Lord who practices kindness and righteousness and justice in the earth. And in these things I delight." And that's what you should follow.
Sure.
So it's not looking to the world to come.
It sounds quite nice, but people who do not live up to justice on this earth, you need to know what's going to happen to them. So that is the consequences of having a hellfire, a day of retribution, and a judgment for them. So that means the whole idea of a limited purgatory where you'll be just cleansed for a while and you're okay. It doesn't balance with God's concept of justice.
I have not studied.
Of course.
But it's not about studying. From what you understand now, if you have a belief system, in which it's only a temporary punishment, like if you murder someone,
Temporary could be in 2,000 years. Temporary could be 5,000.
But when it comes to eternal punishment, that 2,000 years is nothing. So if you have a murder committed and if you have a lollipop being stolen and the punishment is only like £20 fine or £10 fine or something like that, you would say this doesn't balance with the magnitude or the severity of the crime. Severity of the crime against God, such that you became a rebel against Him, it's not something that it's so simple and easy in the sight of God. And this is why God, sending every prophet and messenger, He warned them of a torment and a punishment that is going to be everlasting in hellfire. This is a message God sent to all prophets and messengers. If Judaism somehow diluted to this, to saying, only concentrate on this life, forget about the hereafter and so on.
I am not an expert.
No, not talk about expert. From your understanding of what you believe in.
My understanding is I don't want to say.
What are you defending?
Uneducated.
Your position or the Jewish position that you're not expert in?
I'm not defending either.
I think, Henry, what Brother Mansur is trying to say, Henry, is in plain English, as a logical human being, just like myself, I'm walking through this park and I hear yourself talking, or I hear Brother Mansur talking, and he gives me the advice of Islam, or I heard the advice of Judaism, I would only judge it by logic, isn't it? Should I continue following it? Should I continue following it if I found it illogical, for example?
Well, there's a difference between logic and belief.
Fair play.
And people can have belief that is not logical.
Yeah. But
There
would
are
God?
many beliefs that are not logical.
But would God ask us to
When
believe
the
something?
messenger was taken up to heaven.
It's not illogical. How is it illogical?
Do you believe he was physically moved up
Well,
to
let's understand. How is it illogical?
because it would defy the laws of physics.
The laws of physics that we know of, that we have a limitation of our speed, right? But when God intervenes in his laws of physics, we call them miracles. God created these laws, and there are other laws which are operational, which may not be like switched on and off like you have a genetic switch. So these are the laws within this universe God operates, but you don't normally see them. So that we call them miracles, which is defying the ordinary understanding of the laws that are operational, the physical laws in the universe. So God can have a law that says, okay, fine, you can have someone put in the fire and then fire would not burn. It's like a temporarily suspending that physical property of the fire and not burning. So these are
I don't
not
think you can
illogical.
put your hand
These
in
are
a fire and
these
it
are
doesn't burn.
no.
I don't
What we
think you can
expect
do that.
normally a fire to burn. But if God temporarily suspends the property of the fire through divine intervention, how is that illogical? That's divine.
Miracles, Henry? But I mean, Moses split the sea.
There's some.
No, what,
They
brother,
called it a miracle. The present examination of that is that it was a period of very low tide,
okay.
and it appeared to be the parting of the sea. But it was at that moment where
I see.
it was very, very low. For example, Jesus walking on the water. Apparently, there were stones they found where it was.
No, but as
This is a retrospective,
Yes.
just secularist
For
justification.
example,
but how do you explain
wait.
Moses speaking to God? How do you explain that scientifically?
If you believe in it.
Did that happen?
I don't know.
It's not what you don't know.
I don't believe
Using
so.
the same principle.
I don't believe that Moses. They say Moses was the only person who knew God face to face.
Yeah.
But did God speak to him? How would you explain that scientifically, the paradigm that you are using to understand in a secular perspective
I personally
the
don't
Exodus?
believe that God. I think that he had a feeling, and he translated it to the people who were following him.
Can the Creator speak to us if he wants to?
I don't believe so, but
Is it conceivable that he can?
I don't. Some people might believe it. I don't believe it. Can be
Is there anything illogical from the Creator to communicate with his creation?
If you believe in a creator who has that capacity, I don't
Is it
think
conceivable to believe that there is a Creator?
some people can believe that if they want. It's
Some people.
belief. It's
So are some
belief.
people.
It's,
Okay.
I can believe the moon is made of green cheese.
So do you
If I
think
want,
this?
but
Do you
I don't
think, Henry?
it's-
Do you think this universe exists without a Creator bringing it into existence?
I do.
Okay. So what is your explanation behind the existence of this universe as it is? You must have some really justifiable
Billions
explanation.
and billions and billions and billions of years. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a. I can't.
But if you believe in a proposition, you have to have some explanation, right?
They're just normal speakers. No, Henry, what Brother Mansur is asking you is that logical perspective. So, for example, it's just normal. It's fine. I can believe in Islam, but you have the right to question me that, what.
But I don't want to question you. You are.
No,
if you are
that's fine.
sincere in your belief.
That's fine.
You believe it.
No, that's fine.
If you're another.
We're just
religion,
exploring. If I have an interest in Judaism, for example, Henry, I would logically question, or if I had an interest in Islam, I would logically just question, Brother Mansur, that you follow this religion. Sorry, brother. You follow this religion. Why do you follow? No, okay, it's fine if you're not asking why.
My parents did it, my grandparents, my great-grandparents did it.
Our parents, our foreparents, the Quran says, you know, even if they're wrong, are you going to follow them? This is a reprimand that our Creator makes in terms of following blindly traditions which could be wrong.
That's in the Quran.
That's anything.
People say, Henry, there's some people say, like for example, an atheist will come to you and they'll say to you, I'm an atheist because my dad was an atheist and my dad's dad was an atheist. But that's not a logical argument, is it? It means he hasn't really researched anything. That's right. But I mean, then I personally would actually take a step back and think about what am I actually following with that questioning.
How many people?
Let's not talk about other people.
Investigate.
How about yourself?
Investigate how they are brought up.
Why don't you focus on yourself and then say, look, this is what I believe about the universe. About the universe. If the universe didn't have a creator, so it itself has to explain its origin. So did it always exist? Number one question. If it didn't always exist, it's another question. So if you think it always existed, it has inherent properties. What are those inherent properties the universe had if it always existed?
I'm not a physicist.
You don't have to be a physicist to ask these questions.
I mean, they've now seen through black holes going back hundreds of billions of light years. I can't fathom that.
But if we have a belief in which the universe doesn't have a creator, we have to make sense of our belief. Like, okay, the reason I believe so is because of X, Y, and Z. So when we explore and scrutinize this X, Y, and Z, imagine somebody says, you know what, I'm the King of England. Someone can have that belief. But we need to
be in the psychiatric ward.
Why do we assume it could be Prince Charles himself who believes he's the King of England, right? So we can't assume someone is deluded automatically.
No, he's not deluded. He's brought up
right. So there's an evidence to back his claim.
On his head with a lot of jewels.
Do you agree? There's an evidence to back that he is the King of England. Fine. So if we have a belief system that we take on board, like Henry, you have about the universe, then it makes sense naturally to say, okay, is my belief coherent? Am I believing in things like someone else believes other than Prince Charles that he's the King of England? We need to really assess that and say, okay, do I hold a coherent belief system? Or do I just believe in...
Well, most people don't do that.
We're not talking about most people. Henry, you and me and, brother there. We have to assess our positions. Because if we have a position...
I'm late.
You're late?
I gotta go.
Fine. Do you...
Sorry, I was supposed to leave at 5. I promised my wife I'd leave at 5.
Have you read the Quran?
Have I read? Only brief parts.
Why don't you continue to read the Quran, because the Quran actually delves into these questions, these existential questions, someone who has an origin of a Judaic tradition as well, and then you can connect to it.
Thank you. Nice to
take care.
Good luck.
Okay.
Henry, thanks very much. Do you want a Quran? Have you got a Quran?
No, thank you.
Are you sure?
Thank you very much.
Again, as Brother Mansur said, question why we're here, Henry. That's because when we die, we're going to need to know if we questioned ourselves or not, or we'll regret it heavily. That's a fact. I shouldn't follow what my father followed. I should follow what...
One second, you're in the camera.
Okay, question.
How do I get back towards the Dorchester Hotel?
Dorchester. It's on the Park Road here, isn't it?
Is this Park Lane?
Yeah, one second. Let me take this off and then I'll tell you.